I'm Liz, and I healed from chronic fatigue syndrome. And I've come back to share my story and the stories of others who have healed. Nothing on this channel is medical advice nor meant to contradict what you yourself have discovered to be true. But I hope by sharing our stories, we can inspire you on your journey.
Yeah, so how is your move going, Vanessa?
It's absolutely nuts. It's crazy. I've never moved before other than moving to this house. So back then I had absolutely, no furniture leaving my parents' house. I came with like 3 boxes in my car. And this time it was much different because after 12 years, you collect a lot of junk. And we had more people to move this time, right? I'm moving my entire family. So it was chaotic. I still have a bunch of boxes. This is my office, and it's like if I turn the camera around, it's just full of boxes. So it's okay. This is what you see. But it's going. We had our first get together yesterday to celebrate my birthday and my mom's birthday. So we had a bunch of family.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. It was a week ago, but yeah, it was our first celebration here. So it was nice. Like, had people over, hosted, had our big fat Greek dinners. It was nice. Hopefully the first of many to come.
That's so wonderful to hear, Vanessa. Yeah, I'm just so happy for you. And I just want to introduce you for a second.
Sure.
So Vanessa and I connected via Instagram, and I'm just so inspired by her story. She had a 10-year healing journey from chronic fatigue syndrome, POTS, and other debilitating symptoms. And she's come back to share her full recovery story and tell us more about her journey and her insights from that.
Hi, happy to be here.
Yeah. So Vanessa, what is your purpose for sharing your story with others?
So the reason I started my Grateful V account on Instagram, for those of you who know me, was to share hope. That was the ultimate purpose. The main goal was to spread hope to the hopeless, because I was once hopeless. And I thought, even if I could reach like one person, if one person was able to get a glimmer of hope and continue to go, then that was enough for me. And that is still my goal. It really is sharing hope and giving people, proof that things can get better and that there are better days coming if we believe and if we show up for ourselves every day. And so I guess in a nutshell, that's why I'm here.
That's so powerful. If we believe and if we show up for ourselves. Wow. I'm so excited for this interview.
Me too.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your life before the chronic illnesses began?
Sure. Yeah. So I was working as a federal officer in Canada, and part of my functions was a lot of arresting people and acting as an air marshal to take them back to their countries of origin. So it was very intense, very exciting. I was very strong physically. I mean, I had a great job, fresh out of university, dream job, dream house. I just got engaged. I had basically everything. It felt like it. So I was at the, prime of my life, never really sick, really healthy, and I was just nonstop. So it was like I was working 7 days a week, shift work, just doing it all. So I would say that's kind of where I was right before the fall.
Wow. So were you getting good sleep, or was that not a priority at the time?
So, I mean, who needs sleep, right? Back then I would work, 12-hour shifts and then go out for a drink at night, like that typical young. I felt limitless. I felt like I could do anything, like there were no repercussions. And yeah, I mean, I was traveling overseas multiple times a month. In 1 month, I had done Philippines, Vietnam, these long haul flights, and then went to British Columbia for 3 weeks. So it was a lot of travel. Obviously wasn't eating the best, definitely wasn't sleeping enough. So I could see that back then, obviously, the patterns that I had, the lifestyle I had was not conducive to my health, right? And to moving forward. So it was a matter of time, at least that's how I saw it.
Yeah, but you appeared physically healthy. You were in great
Oh,
physical
yeah.
shape. So,
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's true.
so can you describe then your onset with these debilitating chronic illnesses, including chronic fatigue syndrome?
Yeah. So for me, my story is a little bit unique in that the reason I developed chronic illness was because I contracted a parasite in one of my trips when I went to Vietnam. And the parasite I contracted had like a 70% death rate. Yeah, it was quite dangerous. I didn't know I had it. So when I came back from one of my trips, things just started to go wrong. And as you know, things were just not working as they should, multiple trips to the doctors, weekly visits to the ER, and they just couldn't figure it out. So it took about 9 months for them to realize and figure out that I had this parasite. And thankfully, they caught it in time. And I actually had to do chemotherapy to get rid of it. So it was quite intense right before my wedding. I was really sick on my wedding day from the side effects. I just kind of spent the entire night in the bridal suite, hugging the toilet and sleeping. It was a really difficult journey. And as bad as the parasite was, I mean, it did some damage to certain parts of my body, my lungs, my nervous system. Once I did the treatment, I was like, okay, this is it. We're done. Thank God I'm going to feel better. Things are just going to get better. And they didn't. So it was just like that planted the seeds for a decade of chronic illness. And when I look back, I think about it, I'm like, how did I even get this parasite? My partner didn't get it. The people I traveled with were fine. Was it because I was pushing myself so hard and wasn't taking care of my body that something that maybe I could have naturally fought off, I couldn't? Or maybe it made me more susceptible to getting something like this? Who knows? Nobody really knows. But I would say that it was the gift that kept on giving. That's how I look at it over the years of trying to, reframe it and bring it to light. But it changed my world. It rocked it, and my world absolutely fell apart. But what has come together now and the world that I have built because of that is much better than what I could have ever imagined.
Wow. And so that must have been difficult, right? When you're getting married, you're dealing with this. Can you explain how it affected friends and family as well?
Yeah. So my husband and I had been dating for 7 years prior to that. And the woman he knew and who he signed up to marry was quite different than the person that he did end up getting married to. So it was definitely a challenge for him. He had his own battle with cancer a few years before that, which we had gone through together. So he had some experience in, how awful you can feel sometimes. And so he had that sympathy and that compassion, and he stuck by my side because he just loves me and he had that hope, right? He's like, she's going to get better. Things are going to get better. And I'm Greek and I come from a really amazing, supportive Greek family. So I had my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, cousins, everyone just, came together throughout this. And this was from the beginning when I first contracted the parasite, all the way to a decade later. Through the years, I developed POTS syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, vestibular migraine, hemiplegic migraines, chronic daily migraine. I had chronic pain. I was diagnosed with Meniere's disease at one point. I was diagnosed with small fiber neuropathy, depression, agoraphobia, panic disorder, anxiety. The list goes on and on and on. And it was just like almost like every year was something new, right? And you know how chronic illness goes, it snowballs, right? And it's like you kind of pick things up along the way, like, oh, wait, I got that now. Wait, that one too. So I got to a point where I couldn't even remember all of the things that I had when I would go to the ER. It's like, oh, do you have any conditions? And I'd be like, and then we'd just be there for, 10 minutes going over everything. Same with the medication list. It was just constant, like so much. So yeah, I hope that answered your question, but
Yeah, and more. I guess the main treatment you were seeing was in the ER.
yeah,
Can you describe your early experience with
sure.
the medical system?
Of course I can. So when I initially got sick, again, many ER visits because that's just what you do. And that's what I knew from back then. You go to the doctor. And time again, the doctors couldn't find anything. So they would diagnose me with just anxiety, right? This is anxiety. This is depression. There's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. We don't see anything wrong with you. Your blood levels are fine. Nothing's wrong. We don't know what's wrong with you. It's all in your head. So I had that treatment and I was put on antidepressants and all the usual treatments for that. And I still wasn't feeling better. So I was kind of hopeless at that point because I'm like, well, I keep coming here, but no one's finding anything. Like, why can't you find something? And it wasn't until I basically said, I'm not leaving this hospital until you guys figure out what's going on. And at that point, I had developed symptoms of POTS syndrome. And so I kept having a syncope every time I stood up. So it was just constant. I couldn't stand, I couldn't do anything. And they finally took me seriously and they admitted me into the hospital. And I was there for a month. And during that time, my neurologist, who had been following me for chronic migraine, just happened to be on the cardiology floor. And he kind of peeked into a room and saw my name on the board. And he says, "What are you doing here?" And he took one look at me and he's like, he just knew something was wrong. And he took me seriously. He took the time to sit, talk to me, really understand what was going on. He did like a poor man's tilt test, which is like stand up and then sit down and we'll measure your heart rate. And he's like, "I think I know what you have." And it was that day where he diagnosed me with something called POTS syndrome. And then he started doing his own research to, I guess, help me as best he could, which at that point was through medication to calm some of the symptoms. And I'm so forever grateful for him because no one, I don't think I would have walked out of that hospital had he not seen me that day. So although my experience has been difficult with the medical system, I was lucky enough that I had a few doctors who really, cared and took the time to listen and was like, "I'm not going to dismiss all your symptoms because I can't see them in a lab test. I'm going to listen because I believe you." And that was validating for me. And I can say I've tried everything as well during the years. I think I went to naturopaths, osteopaths, chiropractor. I did functional medicine. I did Reiki. I went to shamans. I went to psychics. I went to mediums. I went to any person who could try and help me figure out what was wrong with me. And although with some things I would get some temporary relief, nothing stuck. And it would just seem to kind of get worse after everything. So I've tried it all.
So I assume one of the things you tried is probably like herbs and diet, especially since it was triggered by a parasite, which you didn't find out till 9 months in. So
Right.
who found the parasite? Which doctor? Was it a functional?
Yes. So no, actually it was a tropical diseases specialist.
Oh.
So one of the top in Ontario. And we didn't have the technology at the time to find this. So it was sent to the CDC in Atlanta. And that's how they found it. So thankful to the US for that. But yeah, it was an actual doctor, which was a great doctor.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then I assume like parasite, okay, now see a functional doctor to treat that. Is that what you did?
So I did see a lot of naturopaths and functional medicine doctors over the years to help rebuild the gut. I honestly did not have much relief from any of it. I took every probiotic out there. I had gastroenterologists doing every test, every biopsy. I was also on antibiotics constantly for recurrent UTIs and sinus infections. So nothing could really heal because I was constantly putting something else in there. And I did try every diet out there from vegan to gluten-free, dairy-free. I even did keto and developed pancreatitis from it. So not every diet is helpful for everyone. And after doing every elimination diet and everything like that, I just decided that none of it was really working. And it just stressed my nervous system out even more. So at that point, I was like, what's the point? If I'm not getting any relief from this stuff, then I'd rather at least eat what I like and what's comforting to me, which was more of a Mediterranean style diet,
You're
because I'm
Greek.
Greek. Yeah. So, and that's what works for me, right?
Yeah, I love that. You got to do what works for you. And you touched on another important point. It sounds like you're starting to realize it was more of a nervous system issue.
hmm
Can you describe that transformation versus, trying to suppress the symptoms with a medication and then fight everything or boost the good stuff, fight the bad stuff? When did you say, maybe this is a deeper nervous system issue? I mean, we know that a parasite, it can affect your nervous system.
Yeah. So I actually remember being in the hospital bed and Googling POTS. And the first thing that came up was a YouTube video from Sarah Jackson Panther. And she started talking about how she healed from POTS. And I'm like, no way. And that's when I kind of looked into DNRS, but never jumped on it because I didn't believe. I'm like, there's no way.
Can
It
you provide a
planted a
timeline?
seed. Yeah.
Sorry.
So this was about 4 years ago. I would say when I was at my worst. Timeline wise, I had gotten the parasite 12 years ago. So nearing a little bit further past the middle to end of my journey. I was in the hospital with POTS. Things had gotten worse. I was definitely in the worst condition I'd ever been in. Could not feed myself, could not go to the washroom, could not get up, could not do anything. So I was completely dependent on nurses for care. And that's that time where I saw in this video by Sarah Jackson Panther, and it planted a seed that day. Although I didn't do anything about it, it kind of stuck in the back of my mind. And I was like, well, if they're not, finding anything physiologically wrong, maybe there's something to this nervous system. Maybe there's something to this. And I didn't end up buying the program until months later. But I think that's when I started to do a little bit more research and say, okay, there's got to be something else. And I'm forever grateful to her for posting about her experience, because I mean, how would I have known otherwise? I would have just said, okay, I'm going to just be this way for the rest of my life because that's what the doctors say. And yeah, so that was the beginning of the awakening of neuroplasticity for me.
At your rock bottom, having to be fed in the hospitals. Wow. And we're sharing stories today. So that's hopefully going to
Yes.
inspire people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, just paying it forward. So I'm so grateful for that, Vanessa. So, Vanessa, can you just give us an overview of your functionality levels throughout your journey? I know at this point, when you first came across DNRS, you were in a hospital bed, but what was it like? Can you describe your ebbs and flows?
Yes.
Not, of course, every single crash, but just a general idea.
I mean, I had a lot of ebbs and flows before I found neuroplasticity. I would have, some good moments. I mean, I had 2 kids. Both pregnancies were really, really rough, and I needed a lot of help, but I would have these moments of reprieve where they would sometimes last for a couple of months at a time, where I would feel functional, never close to what I am now, but I would get some relief. And then I would crash even harder. And then I would have another relief. And I ended up going back to work a few times during this process. And then I would hit the ground running. I would go like full force, trying to get back to where I was. And right before I developed POTS, I remember I was working full time, going to school, and had 2 little kids at home. And my husband was working shift work. So it was intense and chaos. And we were doing renovations. So that was, I would say, my perfect storm within the storm that led to even worsening. So right after that, developed POTS, small fiber neuropathy, chronic fatigue. The list goes on. So a lot of ebbs and flows. And then from the healing journey and on, so say I found neuroplasticity 3 years ago, I had a lot of dips. And I mean, it took me 3 years to get to where I am now. Although a lot of people are healing within 6 months, a year, or whatever it might be, it just wasn't true for me. And it isn't always, the way we expect it to be. But had I given up, I mean, would I still be here? Would I be here? Would I be talking to you today? I don't think so.
I
right?
am just so grateful to share your story, Vanessa, because there are people who take a little bit longer, the turtles,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
turtles win the race. And the fact that you did neuroplasticity work for 3 years, you also reap the benefits from
Yeah.
those 3 years. So, someone who maybe healed quickly, of course, it's great, but you also get the benefit of all
Yeah.
that work you've done to rewire your brain and for your nervous system as well. So,
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful because I know people and it may be a year and a half,
Yeah.
and this is going to give them hope to continue.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. So now let's talk about, okay, your decision. I'm just going to give DNRS a try. Can you talk about that moment?
Yes. So it was interesting because my faith ties very much into my journey. I'm pretty vocal about that on my page. But like I said, I had hit rock bottom. I did end up coming home from the hospital and moving in with my parents because I just couldn't take care of myself and my kids as well. So I was living with them, and the depression and those intrusive thoughts just got worse and worse. And my parents, they had hope when I didn't, and they brought me to our local church, and I didn't really have faith at that point. I was like, well, if there was a God, I wouldn't be sick, right? And he would have healed me by now. And I just didn't have the energy to fight them. And they're like, we're taking you to church. And they brought me there, and they prayed. It was a really quiet day. No one was there. It was empty, and the church was just open during the day. And the local priest took one look at me, and my parents had to basically carry me in, and he sat me on the altar and prayed over me. And that day, I remember my parents were crying, I was crying, and the priest was just really overwhelmed. And something shifted that day. I wouldn't say that I woke up and I felt better or anything like that, but there was something that just kind of gave me hope. It's almost like God threw me a rope and was like, hold on. And that's when it started. And so my journey into faith really led me into my journey into neuroplasticity, because as I prayed and asked God, show me the way to my healing, what can I do? It's funny because I got this advertisement on my phone, and it was like a DNRS thing. I saw it on Facebook, like it just popped up. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take this leap of faith and I'm going to try this. And then it's crazy because my journey into faith and neuroplasticity started at the exact same time, and they've been growing together throughout these 3 years. And I jumped on it. I watched the DVDs. It took me 2 weeks to even watch them because the fog was so bad I couldn't get through them.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it does say day 1, day 2, day 3, but
Yeah.
ignore that. Just do what you can do.
Yeah.
It's broken
Yeah.
down into 3 days. I took 5 days because I was in a pretty okay spot, but I know someone who took 3 weeks to watch the videos.
Yeah. And that's what I say too. Do it as best you can. The most important thing is to really listen and to get what you need out of it versus rushing through it and not paying attention, right? So it took me 2 weeks. And then I started practicing it slowly. I couldn't do the hour a day initially. It was like a really slow progression. And I started to notice improvements. I think the first thing that I noticed was my mood shifted. So that's when I was like, okay, something's changing here. And I think by the year and a half mark, I had gone on my first big vacation to Greece with my family. And, so many milestones. I still had symptoms, but I, did my best and I went. And as I came back, we had a lot of grief. We lost some people in the family, and it was just a really heavy time. So I took time off to grieve, which I think is really important to allow the natural healing process in that respect. And then we had some other, typical stressful life events. And so I didn't train 3 years, complete. I took time off for things that needed my attention. I prioritized what I needed to do. The gift of DNRS is that you have these tools for life. So life is never even keel, things aren't always going to be rosy. And with neuroplasticity in general, any brain retraining program, you have these tools to use and during times of stress. If you notice yourself slipping, then go back to basics, implement them again. They never leave you, and that's the empowering part of it. And when I got to a certain point where I felt good enough, I had trauma surface that I hadn't dealt with. And that was the next phase of my journey, because DNRS calmed my nervous system enough to allow the memories to come up, because they weren't coming up. And it allowed for my body to say, okay, she can do this now. Now is the time where we can open up that vault and allow all of these things to come so that they can heal. They surfaced to heal. And this past year, it has been solely focused on trauma work, working on the core beliefs, on past memories, on changing my experience of the past so that I can change my present.
That is so powerful. And
Yeah.
I love what you said before about how life can happen and allowing yourself time to feel emotions and deal with grief. That's so important, that we're not bottling things in. I also really appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, DNRS, it's so wonderful, but if we do have trauma, there's more work that can be beneficial for us as well. But it's nice to hear that it did help you get to a place where your nervous system was then ready to be in that place to process it. So are you seeing a particular coach or anything to deal with that trauma? And can you talk a little bit about that, whatever you're comfortable with sharing?
Sure, of course. So I had seen a therapist throughout my chronic illness journey. It was just typical talk therapy, which looking back didn't really help me. It just strengthened the neural pathways that something was wrong with me. And that's how I saw it. It does help people and there's nothing wrong with it. But for me, because I kept retelling my story, I was re-traumatizing myself every single time. So I would tell it and then I couldn't do anything with it after. There was no power in telling my story. I was just reliving it with all the emotions, with all the beliefs, really just as if it happened in that moment. So looking back, I know that that kind of got me a bit more stuck, but I learned from it. And while I was doing DNRS, I started reading Dr. John Sarno's work, right? And how the body talks and how if we're suppressing our emotions, they're going to pop up in other ways. And that's exactly what was happening for me. That's actually how I cured chronic migraine, was using Dr. Sarno's approach and Curable. So the Curable app for anyone who's struggling with chronic pain is absolutely incredible. It's so easy to use and it's so complementary to DNRS. I meshed the two so beautifully. And so that definitely helped me. So this idea that I wasn't really paying attention to my truth, I wasn't listening to my emotions, and how do I kind of move on from that? I found a coach on Instagram. She was part of Flip and Shift. So her name's Tiffany, and I just kind of reached out to her because something on one of their live podcasts just spoke to me. And then I started to work with her, and she taught me how to go back to my past memories, identify these core beliefs, step into this awareness of like, why do I believe the things I believe about myself? Where does this come from? Why do I respond in this way? Why does this trigger me? And really getting to the root of these things and pulling them and then rewriting our past. And it was just a combination of tapping, NLP, and just this incredible awareness. And through that process, I was able to work through a lot of heavy trauma. And as I dealt with each event, a layer would just come off and I would feel freer. And then another layer would surface. And the incredible thing is I was given the tools at that point to basically feel empowered that I could handle anything. And again, this complemented DNRS, everything really meshed together for me. So it wasn't just a one-time thing. And I mean, it has completely changed my life because I no longer see and experience the world like I once did from that place of victim, right? So we're always stuck in that victim mentality, especially as we have healing to do and we're sick, and stepping out of that victim mode into this creator mode and just being able to change your experience of the world. How incredible is that? To no longer be triggered by the things that trigger you. And which I found with DNRS was it's excellent for calming the nervous system, but there was no avenue for emotion. There was no avenue for trauma. And the triggers kind of kept coming up because they were so rooted in past trauma. So for me, I had to deal with the past trauma to move forward. And I mean, it stemmed from sexual abuse to eating disorders to tragic deaths in the family as a kid, just a lot of stuff. And I had to do the dirty work. I had to get down into the nitty gritty and just completely change it so that I could move forward. And that's probably the most empowering work that I've done. And now that's the work that I also do with my clients as well.
Vanessa, thank you for opening your heart and sharing that with me and my audience. I really appreciate your vulnerability and you sharing this, because it is going to help so many people. Because DNRS, it's such a great tool.
It is.
But sometimes there's deeper work some of us have to do to understand why we're triggered, to really process those traumas, but just at a deeper level versus going back through the story and changing how we perceive things and show up in the world with, I love what you said, a creator mindset versus the victim mentality. And of course, there's so many reasons with all the things you mentioned and 10 debilitating years of chronic illness in the prime of your life. And there's probably so much more we can't talk about today. There's so many reasons to have that victim feel like a victim.
Yeah.
But you were able to transcend that, do the dirty work, and come at it with a new perspective.
Exactly. Yeah. Perspective is everything in the healing journey, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so on that note, how did you deal with setbacks along the way? Because there are setbacks, and I do want to be real with people. It's not just this like, okay, I do this and everything's great. And life can happen. Yeah. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So, I mean, setbacks, too many to count. The way I took them, though, is I started to use my belief and really harness that power. So what I mean by that is I was able to reframe my setbacks as proof that I was healing. So if I did have a major dip, that to me, I would tell myself was, oh, my limbic system doesn't like this. That means I hit a sweet spot. So my limbic system is now, really trying to help me stay stuck. That's its job. It wants me to stay comfortable. It doesn't like this change. So for me, any setback, any rebounds, any dips was proof of healing. And I believed it. I really ingrained it into my head. And I was like, okay, after this dip, I'm going to have a huge leap. And that's often what would happen, right? Because I believe so much. If I could just train through this dip, maybe this is a test. Maybe God is saying, aha, okay, so you've done all this work. Now let's see, let's put it to use. And so dips were an opportunity for me to really use the tools and show up, right? And say, this is what I'm made of. This is what I've got. And to prove to my limbic system that I meant business, right? I mean business. I am changing. I'm not the same person I was last week, right? Or the week before. And so as hard as they were, I really tried to reframe in that matter. I made albums on my phone of really good days. I would take videos and I would talk to myself. I'm feeling great today, Vanessa. Remember this. Remember this when you need it. And then I would go back to those and just listen to them again and say, see, I am healing. Because often when we're in those dips, we're like, oh, we've gone 10 steps backwards. We're not really healing, or now I'm going to stay this way. That's not true. And if you really look back, I think I posted a video last week about this. And if you pay attention and you look back on yourself, meet yourself when you first started retraining and tell yourself all the things that you can do now, right? and that you couldn't do back then. And then it changes your perspective and you're like, okay, yeah, oh my gosh, this is working. So I have to stick to this. And I'll tell you, full honesty, because that's where I come from. I'm authentic and genuine. Even those who have fully healed, we're all human, right? We all go through hard moments in life, and we do have days we need to rest or days where we need to scale back on things, right?
Yes. Thank
I
you for
think there's,
saying that,
yeah,
Vanessa, because even
I
still,
agree.
it's not like I'm feeling 200% every day. Sometimes it's like, oh, you need
Yeah,
a rest sometimes. But great health and continued thriving is definitely possible.
exactly. And I think that's an important message because a lot of people who go through this, I get that question a lot in my DMs. Are you 100%? No. Who's 100%? Tell me one person that's
I get that
100%. I
too.
don't know any, right? And so I said, but even if I were to tell you I'm at 75%, is that not better than not living at all? Like, you only have something to gain with this work. Really, that's the reality of it. And if down the road, something happens, I know my immune system has been tested with viruses, and temporarily you dip again, but what do? You use your tools, right? You're
Mhm.
empowered with all the tools you need to get through whatever life gives you, right? That's the whole point of this. And I think we're losing it. We think, we're going to 6 months do DNRS and then life is done and we'll never have to deal with anything again. Well, that's not life. I wish it was, but it's not, right?
Life happens.
And listening to our bodies too, right? That's the
Mhm.
key lesson in here is I think most of us never listen to the subtle signs of our bodies when we needed to. Like when it's saying you need to rest. No, I'm going to push through. You need to do, no, I'm going to push through. Well, now we have this beautiful gift of awareness where we can look back and say, oh, now my body's just telling me I need to slow down. Okay. Because if we return to the pace we were going at when we got sick, we're going to end up back where we were. So I adopt a pace of grace, right? I pay attention, I listen to my body, and I give it what it needs.
The pace of grace. I love that. Yes, if we go back, try to live life like we did right before we got sick, we
You
might end
get
up
it.
in the same spot. But yeah,
Yeah.
but it is so wonderful that you are just living such a vibrant, full life, a
Thank
balanced
you.
life, doing what you love. You found your niche. Can you tell us about some of the things you've done with your family that you're really just happy about? Can you describe your life now on the other
Yeah,
side? Yeah.
for sure. So obviously, I'm working now. I moved, as we discussed in the beginning of this, which is something I never ever thought was possible because it's a lot of work. It's a big job.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I never ever thought it was possible. And I just, moved and packed everything. And so that was a really big thing for me and for my family. Just being more present with my kids. I think because I was struggling with symptoms all the time, I really missed out on a lot of moments with them. And now I'm able to sit and be present and play with them and, go for a swim, go for a walk, obviously exercising, every day pretty much, feeling alive and thriving, not carrying an entire luggage bag of stuff everywhere I go. I know you guys get it, right? Like I had to have food, all my tuppers, like everything with me wherever I traveled, all my medical devices. It was like packing for a trip just to go to like a barbecue, So now it's like I just grab my purse and like maybe a bottle of water and I'm out the door. I don't have to take my entire pharmacy with me. So that's refreshing. Yeah, and just really enjoying the things that I never really enjoyed before. So just sitting outside and sitting in the sunlight and feeling that on my face and just feeling grateful for being here, to be honest.
That is so powerful, Vanessa. Wow, you've taken me on such a journey. This is so inspiring, and it's also refreshing to hear some of the things you're saying because you're so honest and authentic. So, do you have any final message to the audience?
Yeah, I say this a lot. Whatever program you're doing, don't doubt it. Believe in yourself. And most importantly, just be consistent. dedicated, show up every day. If you show up every single day and you do something, one step towards your healing, you're going to get there. And with regards to neuroplasticity, the key is repetition. If you do something enough, it's going to stick. Your brain will have no choice but to rewire. So, when you break it down to the basics, that's the key to it, is you need to show up every day. You can't just do a half-assed job. You need to show up for yourself, because no one's going to do it for you. I won't. No coach will. No program will do it for you. No doctor will. It's up to you.
But if life happens, it's okay. You just get back on the horse.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you obviously have to prioritize your emotional needs. If life happens and you do take a break, that's okay. But then start back with that same motivation and trust and know that things will get better and that there is hope. And don't think that you're too far gone. I get that all the time. I'm too far gone. Well, I thought the same too.
You were in a hospital like bed.
Right. Yeah.
Your parents were feeding you.
Yeah, basically. So it's just a matter of really believing in yourself, in this program, knowing you're never alone, right? And there's no timeline to this. There's no pressure. You do it at your speed, whatever feels good to you. And if that means, as well, I'll throw this out there, if that means you need medical attention as well during this process, that's okay too. It shouldn't be an all or nothing thing. I use medication as training wheels throughout my process for when I needed it. And when I was ready, I let them go. So don't put this pressure of perfection on you. Just show up in the best way that you knew how and just do your best. And you're going to get there.
I love it, Vanessa. This was such a powerful, insightful, and nuanced interview. You covered every exception to really make it inclusive for everyone versus just like, oh, do this one thing. You really understand the nuance of all this because you've been there.
I have, yes, and so have you. And that's why that's why I preach authenticity, because it's so, different to all of us, right? We're all so different.
And I am just so grateful to share your message and share your light with more of the world. I know you're already having such an impact on people's lives and the work you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate you even asking me. When you asked, I was like, really, me? Why me?
Yes, you.
And I'm so grateful. I've been watching you and following you for a while, so I'm in awe of what you're doing as well, and just spreading messages and bringing this community together. I think it's a really, really beautiful thing that you're doing.
I really appreciate that, Vanessa. This was so wonderful. Yeah. And I look forward to your YouTube channel with more visualizations. I love that. And any more wisdom that you have to share.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciate it.
And now you're helping people in the work that you do, which is just so wonderful. Because there are some people who heal. It's like, okay, I don't want to deal with that anymore. I do know those people.
And I understand that too. Like, I get it, right? Because you're like, well, why do I want to think about this anymore when it's taking up so much of my life, right? I mean, it's not for everyone, and I completely understand. But I just felt personally, if there's someone else out there like me who's struggling so much, like, what if I can give them the hope that they need, right? It's almost like feels like a duty in a way. You probably
I felt the duty.
What you're doing.
I felt the duty too, not as an individual coach, but because my skills are more like bringing things together and telling stories. That's what I enjoy.
And I love it.
So that's, I found my place in life and I'm good with that. But can you talk a little bit more of the work you're doing now to help people on their healing journeys?
What I do is I work with those who are already doing some sort of neural retraining, whether it's Gupta, DNRS, ANS, Rewire, whatever it might be, and who just need that extra support going forward. Sometimes we get stuck. Sometimes we need that motivation. Sometimes we just need someone to keep us accountable. And I also help others who have already gotten to that point where, they've done their neural retraining and there's other stuff that they have to deal with, which is a lot of the trauma work, the core beliefs, helping them to change their experience of their world and to empower them most of all. And I offer, as well, as I am a Christian, I do bring my faith very much into my work. And obviously I never push it on anyone. But I think that's what makes it really powerful for me, in that when you believe in something greater than yourself, whatever it is, when you bring your faith and your belief and you tie that into showing up for yourself every day and doing the work, it just magnifies everything. So I do my best to just show up authentically and genuinely and treat every client individually, because one program doesn't fit all. And we need to meet you exactly where you are in whatever state you're in, and kind of start from there and go forward. So every one of my clients is at a different point, and some things may work for one person that doesn't for another, or this tool works better. So I really just do my best to show up for them and to share my knowledge and my wisdom, and just kind of keep them motivated and believing in themselves, really.
Yeah, that is just so wonderful. And I love how you tailor it specifically to people where they're at. That's so wonderful. Yeah. So it's just, wow, such a transformation. You're this
Right?
serious federal officer taking down the bad guys, or I don't whatever.
That's exactly what,
And now you are so spiritually attuned and guiding people on their healing journey. Yeah. And I also want to say you posted a couple amazing visualizations. So a key part of DNRS is there's a health visualization aspect. We mentioned the 1 hour per day, and there's like a round you do. That's a script. There's some fill in the blank spots, but then there's making those past and future visualizations come alive. And you do such amazing ones, and the couple that you've shared.
Thank you.
And have such a beautiful, calming voice. It's just amazing. So,
well, I actually just got a podcast microphone for my birthday, so I'm hoping to start some YouTube meditations or visualizations. I really enjoy doing them. So I'm hoping to get a little creative and just offer some tools, again, just tools to help everyone else calm and just get themselves back to a grounded state when we're kind of out of it, right? So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited to work on that.
Yeah, I really look forward to that, because it's more than just a calming meditation. There's joy and there's feelings of vibrance on these visualizations, especially the ones you do. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, good stuff. Oh yeah, okay. So your Instagram handle is The Grateful V.
Yes.
So can you tell me about how you've incorporated gratitude more into your life?
Yeah, so it started off when I first started doing DNRS, and I would make a gratitude list every day of, what am I grateful for today? And that's one of the tools, I would say, in my toolbox when I would notice that I would be getting off track or getting back into that victim mode. It would be to step into gratitude, to make the choice to step into gratitude, because it is a choice, and to just focus on the here and now. Like, who am I surrounded by? What do I have in my life right now? And how does that make me feel? So attaching the emotion to that gratitude as well, the things you're grateful for, it makes me feel loved and safe and whole and complete. And it's just something that I always say is I'm grateful for, and I even put this in my prayers, I'm so grateful for all of the challenges, because I truly am, right? As bad as things were, and they were bad, as I look back, every single thing that happened in my life was part of this transformation, right? I wouldn't have been at this point. I wouldn't be here had I not gone through all that I went through. It changed my perspective on my life. It made me question my priorities and reprioritize things. I think I was going down a destructive path. And so I'm grateful that the rug was pulled from underneath me, and I got to get onto the path that I'm supposed to go onto. So gratitude's a big one. I'm grateful for it all of it. And I'm, as hard as it can be sometimes, because I get it, there's a purpose to your pain. there's a purpose.
Wow, that is just so powerfully stated, Vanessa. Yeah.
But the work is never done, I feel, Liz. I'm
Yeah,
like
the work is
constantly
never done.
growing,
I
right?
still have resilience building opportunities, growth
Yeah, same.
opportunities,
Yeah,
still learning and growing. And I'm glad
me
we get to
too.
share that because like life is really good, but yeah, it's not like, oh, and I never have to think about my health or do anything again.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I feel like some people are selling that idea where I'm just like, you know, well,
No,
we do our best.
you're the real deal. So this was great, Vanessa.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was so good.
We'll talk soon.
All right.
Take care.
Bye, Vanessa.
Bye.
Have a good one.
If you appreciated our interview today, it would be wonderful if you could give it a like or leave a comment and I'll respond. I've also went ahead and put the written transcript of our conversation today on my site, healwithliz.com, if you prefer to read. And I just want to thank you for being here and sending you my support on your healing journey.